Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to WHTC's Talk of the Town for this Monday, April the 13th. I'm Gary Stevens. Glad you are with us. We'll be open line following the 11 o'clock news block, but we are joined on the other end of our Zoom connection with State Representative Mary Whiteford from the South Haven area. She represents most of Allegan County in the State House, and she's on the other end of our Zoom connection. Mary, good morning, and glad you're able to join us.
Yeah, good morning, Gary. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you well, and we're trying to make sure that our connection, as I get this set up here, it just wants to stay low, but and anyway, we're trying to fiddle with this, but it doesn't look like it wants to cooperate, but we'll do our level best. But if you got a question for the state representative, she'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450 as we alter the, doing a little fiddling here as we go along. Sometimes the connections are moved around. Mary, first of all, the general reaction has been of the state legislature has been one of anger, of being upset over the governor's extension of the executive order, stay home and stay safe, not so much because it was extended, but because it was somewhat tightened and toughened a little bit more. That, yes, we are trying to be safe. We're trying to deal with the situation, and not everybody in the state has been affected by this and the same impact as, say, Southeast Michigan. But the brush, to a certain extent, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, has been somewhat broad, and painting everybody in Michigan with the same brush when maybe some fine tuning needed to be done.
Yeah. So I've heard from dozens of constituents every day, and these are small business owners that have the ability to go do work, like builders or landscapers, or people who could actually do work and not be around anybody else, keep the safe distance. And that's all I'm hearing from. So that's why I'm trying to advocate for some reasonable perspective to this. We don't live in an inner city. We don't live in an urban area for most of Allegan County. I understand parts of Holland are, there's a higher density in our cities, Saugatuck, Allegan. But for the most part, a lot of people could still work. And we could talk about unemployment. There's such a backlog. Or we could talk about a small business loan that a company can get, but there's very high criteria to be able to get those funds. So these guys are working with absolutely no fund. Well, they're not working, but they have no income coming in, yet they have a lot of expenses. There's depression, there's anxiety. Their families are being seriously affected by the fact that these small businesses can't work. And so I think that's the perspective I hear the most from. It's just a survival mode, and people can't survive right now.
Some say they're still living and they still have a life that they can look forward to later on, but yet that's of small comfort when they're not surviving well. And we feel empathy for those being afflicted directly in the Detroit market, up I-75, that corridor, but by making everybody feel the pain with the reasoning being COVID-19 knows no boundaries. That seems a little bit harsh.
Well, there's two things going on. Number one, I understand it is really serious. I have a friend in Grand Rapids who had 103 fevers for 12 days. So sick and now so weak. But then you look at other states in the Midwest that have, we could talk about numbers. We've got a high urban area. Detroit has a lot of international travel that really made them a hotbed. But all our surrounding states, they've got landscaping going on. People are able to plant their gardens. We've got the small business, some construction, keeping safe distances, and they're able to do it. I talked to somebody out, one of my local contractors, he's got people from out of state building, and they're laughing at Michigan. They're like, well, we're able to do this work. People aren't getting sick. What's going on in Michigan that it's so intense, the restrictions on people? Let's try to bring a different perspective and not be the only state in the Midwest with it so entirely strict.
And then the aftermath, when this is all done, something I pointed out and continue to point out is what happens when this is all over? Are we so short-sighted that we can't look long range because we're so worried about the short term right now?
Yeah. Don't we wish we had a crystal ball and we knew what was going to happen so that we could make good decisions now? It's just getting perspectives, getting numbers, seeing what other countries are doing, how they're able to open it up. And that's why we really need our professionals to be making these major guidance decisions. And I'm a nurse. I mean, even my daughter-in-law, she's almost paralyzed with fear that her kids are going to get sick, or her, and well, mainly her kids. I mean, this is very, very serious. I will not undermine that. Thank God we've got a ton of researchers around the world trying to find some antivirals to help with this. I understand we have to work on like a flu shot, some kind of vaccination. That takes a long time, but there's a lot of work being done right now to find like a Tamiflu or some kind of medication that'll bring down that viral load so the person can get better faster. And I'm just hoping and praying that if somebody, if anybody does get sick, that it's in 4 to 6 months when we should have some kind of antiviral to help with this. But now is frightening time for everybody that they would catch it.
If you got a question for State Representative Mary Whiteford, she'll take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. We're on a Zoom connection. No, you can't join the Zoom connection, but you can chat the old-fashioned way via the phone. We'll be happy to take your call. One thing that was pointed out, and Luke Mehrman has been one of the biggest critics of what has been happening so far. He says, we need information. We need more transparency to be able to make an informed decision, we being state lawmakers. You're in that boat as well.
Yeah, I put a request out to the director on Friday to get more detailed information. What's really going on in all our rural hospitals. I'm hearing that in many of the rural hospitals, they're waiting for COVID patients. They're told they can't do any elective procedures. They can only take emergency procedures. Their bottom line, they're losing millions and millions of dollars across the state every day. And what can we do about that? So having facts, finding out exactly what's going on in all of our hospitals, and our rural hospitals, Allegan Hospital, Holland Hospital, will help us hopefully make some better decisions as we move along with the path of this virus. But that's what we're really looking for, more data so we can help with that decision.
Good morning, you're on the line with, let's get to a line that is actually somebody on it. Good morning, you're on the line with State Representative Mary Whiteford.
Good morning. Something I've been wondering with all the stuff I'm seeing on Facebook, et cetera, is what can you as legislators do to override a governor who's as power hungry as she is?
So what we're doing, we did extend the declaration of emergency through the end of April, but there's grave concerns right now with what's going on. Thousands of people have been reaching out to the governor. She has a press conference at 3:00 today. I'm just hoping and praying that she brings a different perspective to this, understanding how serious it is, but also understanding there's a way to work safely. And that's what I'm hoping. You can vote safely. You can buy gas for your boat. And I know that's not life or death, but for some people to be able to have some of those freedoms to go to their second home somewhere, a place where they pay property taxes on, there's limits to that. Going to the store and not having things barricaded. That I hear from that too. For me, of course, the most important thing is life. And if we can bring a perspective of how we can keep those safe distances, that's the best. So we'll see what happens at 3. We've Speaker Chatfield, Senate Majority Leader Shirkey, they've been working closely with the governor. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at 3 today.
Is there anything the legislators can do to override what she did? I think we all know, whether we want to admit it or not, that really this isn't so much about her caring about the state. It's her making points with Biden to be his running mate. And I'm just wondering if our legislators can do something to make her be more reasonable. You can go buy pot, go buy marijuana, but you can't hire your 17-year-old neighbor kid to do your lawn. That is absolutely political.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at 3 o'clock today. And then I know I've got a big conference call tonight to get a better idea about what we can do. But like I said, it's all about keeping people as safe as possible, but also making sure that we are using a sense of reason in it and looking at it from a different perspective. But I appreciate you asking me that.
Yeah, thank
And
you
I'll
very
have
much.
a better idea tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much for the call. Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Mary Whiteford.
Yes, I got a question because I work for a car dealership and we are closed too. Well, they can't open our dealership. It's only like 2 or 3 people working in there.
Yeah, so the one one thing in the executive order from Friday allows you can't go to the dealership, but you can call them on the phone and make those transactional decisions without going into the big showroom. So car dealerships are supposed to be able to sell cars now, but you have to do it online, by phone, by other means.
All the all the dealerships.
Yeah, the entire state. Yeah, the entire state. They're able to sell cars now. And I think a big thing was
we can't open until they say that we can open it.
The showroom itself, but people can call and buy cars from you, is my understanding. So they can call you on the phone and get something coordinated. So that's what it says specifically in the executive order, that online sales.
You think you should pull that up then? They got that meeting at 3 o'clock today on TV. They talk about that too.
I'm not certain if she's going to be able to talk about whether or not she'll have more on the car dealer situation with her update today at 3 or not.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. Some might say some of the complaints that have been levied by state lawmakers is just a case of lawmakers being left out in the cold. It's almost as if the legislature has been made irrelevant, other than the the concurring resolution that was passed on Tuesday. Your response to some people that might say it's just a lot of sour grapes by Republicans in the legislature not being a part of the process that the governor's in right now?
I think it's really easy to hyper politicize this whole issue. For me, it's just who I'm listening to, just like I've been explaining. I've got so many people in Allegan County, which are a ton of small business owners. Even our farmers are small business owners, right? Everybody. So there's such a huge impact within Allegan County on this. So it's not political for me. It's about safety, but being reasonable.
Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Mary Whiteford.
Yeah, as a follow-up to that last call, as a person who was shopping for a new vehicle prior to all this mess, the car dealerships are now saying, well, we can't really do anything for you. I can't test drive the car or truck. I can't go down to the dealership to look it over. The dealership says, well, we don't have any way to bring the vehicle to you to test drive. The governor wasn't very clear in her orders. How do we get clarification? Because this does seem to be a big shutdown, lockdown on car dealerships.
Okay, I'll get that information and I'll put it on my state rep Facebook page for you. Would that be helpful?
I think it would, because the governor's not being very clear on a lot of stuff, and I think one caller was correct. She's power hungry, and I think we got to get some way of controlling her. Her political aspirations are hurting the people and the businesses of this state horribly.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. 395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for State Representative Mary Whiteford, she'll be happy to take it at 395-1450. One more thing before we get to the break. And again, you're talking about politicizing this entire situation. Luke Mehrman, State Representative from Coopersville, basically said in his statement after the executive order was extended last week that he felt that it was a case of Governor Whitmer posturing herself to a possible vice presidential run. I wish we would get the politics out of this, but unfortunately, we're political creatures of habit, and it's going. We're going to have that right now. Yeah,
it's a very frustrating time. Everybody has deeply held beliefs. And Speaker Chatfield was telling me he sat down with the governor and their staff, and he was looking at the governor saying, look, you're taking away our rights. And the governor was looking at him saying, look, you're trying to kill people. So we have deeply held beliefs on what we're doing. So the more that we just get out there and listen and see how these orders impact lives, and if we can decrease the ability of this virus to pass and have some certainty, or at least make some ideas to keep people safe, but let them work as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody has deeply held beliefs.
The constitutionality of all this has been called into question as well. Constitutionally, based on the state constitution, the governor can be able to do X, Y, and Z, but some are saying, there are also some safeguards that need to be implemented once we get through this executive order, once we get through these emergency powers, because sometimes when there's emergency powers, we've seen in history, some of these constitutionally held rights aren't worth the paper they're written on.
Right. We could go back to Flint when Governor Snyder had his executive orders and everybody was saying he was killing people. And, I wonder if this may be Governor Whitmer's Flint. There's emergencies and things that happen, and we'll see what happens. I mean, they were talking about Governor Snyder as a possible vice presidential pick too back then, and then everything fell apart. I just don't know what to say about it all, but we just have to keep focusing on the numbers, the science, the people that are involved here.
Let's get one more call before the break. Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Mary Whiteford.
Yeah, good morning. They're going to transportation, and the governor have ordered to not to run the McIntyre Extra route buses, and they can only run the regional map. I had called the regional map to schedule why. Had the time they've been booking my ride. I am totally frustrated that my ride are being booked. And had the time I had to ride my bike to get to places and ride a taxi cab, and that take a big chunk on my budget. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. That caller, Mary, I think more than anything else is somebody that might be falling through the cracks of the situation. You can't get, the fixed buses in Holland are down. You have to reserve a max. You got to reserve before 4 of the day. Riding the bike, some of the things we take for granted right now, all halted.
Exactly. I had somebody reach out on Facebook yesterday saying, hey, everybody's staying home. They're safe. We can go shopping. We can do all these different things that we need to do. And then you read through the lines and there's people who can't get to the store. They have no ability to take care of their basic needs. What do you do? I don't know what he can do. I mean, do your best and reach out to your local church and local community. I would call your township hall or the city of Holland and talk about your struggles, because there's a lot of people willing to help and support some funds to do that. So call my office. I'll see what I can do to help as well.
If you, hold on, Peg's got 211, I would think.
I've got, actually 211 is a place to call, but I have a question for Mary too. I'm reading, I just got a press release from Beaumont saying they're launching a study. They're saying to test the blood of people who've recovered from COVID for antibodies to understand how the body fights infection. And I know there's talk of using that kind of blood to maybe help people or create some sort of, I think, vaccine. Do you know anything about this at all? Or can you talk about what a serological study is?
Well, right when this outbreak started, I watched Outbreak. So they had somebody, they took antibodies and were able to develop it to help people. We actually have a doctor in Douglas who is doing the antibody tests on people. Out of 40 tests, she had one that came out positive. I think it's really, really important, this all of the above approach to try to do the research to figure out how to help people who are sick. I think it's wonderful. And Beaumont's a huge hospital system, so I'm pretty excited that they've announced that they're doing that.
Mary, before we go, we need to mention that you were part of a conference call that included the White House on mental health. Tell us briefly about it.
Yeah, so the day before, I was invited by email to be on this conference call, and I went to DC for a summit on mental health and the struggles that our state faces and our country. So I was invited to this conference call, and about an hour before it started, they asked if I would personally ask the president a question. And so I had a chance to talk about the Michigan Crisis and Access Line and how it's getting implemented. It's actually on a fast track right now so that somebody can call and get help right away and find out local services. So I was able to tell the president, vice president, and both of their wives, all 4 of them were on the call, and I was the only legislator. So So it's a really great opportunity to say some of the things that we're doing in Michigan that's innovative and see if we can get other states to replicate it, because it will be the only one, because it is a warm handoff to a professional. So I was really honored to have that opportunity.
State Representative Mary Whiteford, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Talk of the Town program. We'll put a link to your webpage, your state government webpage, and we put the audio podcast of this on our webpage at WHTC.com. And of course, we're recording the Zoom conversation. We'll upload that onto our social media sites in a little bit as well. Mary, stay safe, as they say. Thank you very much for joining us. Look forward to chatting with you, perhaps in person, if not by Zoom, next month.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. God bless everybody.
Thank you very much, State Representative Mary Whiteford. We do have CBS News with Steve Kathan, followed by WHTC News with Peg McNichol. Some open line time after that on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.